Guys, what's going on? It's Gunnar here. Today I want to talk a little bit about mobile hunting. Now I think we can all agree that nowadays it's kind of a craze to be labeled a mobile hunter and to say you're a mobile hunter, right? Now I want to talk a little bit about what that means to me, what I've experienced, how I utilize it, not just say owning a saddle and using a saddle and hunting out of a saddle. That doesn't make you a successful mobile hunter. That just means you have a saddle. So number one here is, when it comes to mobile hunting and why I'm utilizing it, is I'm trying to take advantage of short-term movement. Now, we all know that deer do not consistently do the same thing over and over year-round. Things change as the season progresses. Early season food sources are different than late season food sources, or during the rut, deer are not prioritizing food sources. So we need to take those things into consideration. Now, when I'm using mobile hunting as a tool in my arsenal, it's mainly during the rut and or a situation I don't have a pre-hung for that area or that specific movement. Now, I have a lot of pre-hungs set up because of historical information, but that's not always the exact right spot that you need to be in. So when it comes to taking advantage of that short-term temporary movement, you need to act fast. You need to see something going on, and you need to act on it. I'm gonna take you back to this season. I was hunting a particular buck, split G2. He's a 5-year-old deer. I had a lot of history with him, but I had a series of trail camera photos from the previous season during the rut, late October into very early November. And what the situation was is he had a hot doe pinned down in this bedding area. And he was cruising back and forth past this cell cam for multiple days, over and over during daylight, fending off other bucks, protecting that area, sealing off that doe from competitor bucks. So I took that into consideration when I made this move this year. So I remember that historical information, it's super important. So it ended up being October 28th. I moved into that same area. Now Split G2 wasn't necessarily as active in my area as he was his 4-year-old season. So he kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop. So I moved into an area, into that same area that he had held does in the past, and he shows up. I had a set hung in there, and I hung a camera. He showed up that night. So the next time I got a good wind to go in there, I went. And that happened to be 2 days later, and once you know it, he shows up, did exactly what I wanted him to do. Now, I wasn't able to connect on my shot, but that's besides the fact. We all aren't perfect. We all have things we can work on. But I was able to take advantage of a short-term temporary movement based on historical evidence and use that mobile hunting aspect to push in and capitalize on that. Now, number two is, when you're thinking about mobile hunting, a lot of people think, oh, it's risky. You're pushing into areas. Yeah, it is risky. But there's also a huge reward that can follow. So if I'm gonna go into an area like I did with that buck, I'm going all in. I'm not just going a little bit in to see if I can see him. The last thing I want to do is just see him and not get a shot. I'm going in to kill that deer. So when I go in, I'm going all in. I'm going exactly where I believe I can get a shot because I'm already creating disturbance. If I'm going to create a disturbance going into a spot that I wouldn't necessarily always go into, I'm going to make sure I make that count. The last thing I want to do is go into an area, cause disturbance, and not connect, not get that shot opportunity that I'm looking for. So that's what you need to remember here. If you're going to go in, go all in. Don't just go kind of in, because small risk equals a smaller reward at the same time. So it's all relative. And now number three here is, you can be too smart when it comes to hunting, and mobile hunting at that. You can paralyze yourself by not trying to bump deer or being too safe. Now, I'm all for trying to keep low pressure on a property. But when it comes to mobile hunting and the time of the year that you're using it, that plays a huge factor into how smart and how safe you should play it. During the rut, I like to get very aggressive, and it's paid off for me. Guys, it's Gunnar. Look, if you like the video, like what you're seeing, but you still need more help, shoot me a message. I'll help you with whatever you need. I got your back for life. Now let's get back to the video. When I see a specific thing happening, I'm acting immediately. And especially if it correlates with historical evidence that I've seen in the past. If I'm hunting a specific buck, if he shows me one time that he's in that area doing that thing, I'm going right now. I'm not waiting to see him do it 2 or 3 times because you've probably missed your opportunity at that point. You need to act and you need to act fast. So I once had a friend reach out to me. He sent me a few pictures of a daylight buck, just a giant. And he asked me, he said, do you think I should go in after him? I said, he's doing what you want him to do, right? He's daylight, in front of your camera, in front of your stand, so what are you waiting for? When it comes to deer hunting, everything is temporary. Things are changing on the daily. A mature buck or deer in general are not gonna just continually do something year round. Things change, circumstances are changing constantly. Food sources, hot does are moving around. Cover is changing. So if you see a buck on a movement that you're trying to take advantage of, and he's doing it during daylight when you want him to, you need to act right now before you miss it, because these things don't last forever. That comes to the rut, and that comes with late season, early season, all of that, because things are continually changing. You need to jump on these tendencies quickly and efficiently, and mobile hunting is a huge advantage when it comes to being able to get on temporary movement like that. So number 4 is, everything in the deer woods is temporary, correct? We go from early season, a lot of foliage, a lot of cover, food is prevalent, to the rut, where food is the last thing on bucks' mind. Does are in heat, does are moving around, bucks are moving around, covering a lot of ground, to late season where food is scarce and deer are congregating on specific high quality food sources. And throughout this time period, the cover's changing, the hunting pressure is changing. So we need to take all of this into consideration, because when it comes to taking advantage of temporary movements like that are constantly changing throughout the season, mobile hunting is at the top of being able to capitalize on that. I love going in for the first time with a hang-on stand. A deer has never seen a person there before. They're not expecting it. You have the element of surprise, and you can't beat that when it comes to getting in on a specific movement and deer having no experience of human pressure in that area or in that spot. That's why I love mobile hunting on those temporary movements. If I see a buck cruising an area one time and it's, say, pre-rut, when I don't expect there to be a lot of does coming in yet and he's gonna be constantly searching that area, I'm going in probably that next morning, hoping to catch him still in that area doing the same thing, because I don't wanna miss that opportunity. He's not gonna do it forever. As soon as he finds a doe and he goes into a different area, he's there for 3-4 days. You need to act fast. Don't paralyze yourself with being too worried about disturbing things. Some of the best hunts I've had, best opportunities, biggest deer I've seen, I've blown deer going in. Sometimes I think, and I feel as hunters, we overwhelm ourselves with something that happens in the deer woods naturally and all the time. When it comes to blowing deer or deer blowing at you and spooking deer, that's not an uncommon occurrence in the woods. Deer are blowing at coyotes all the time, dogs, people walking. This happens all the time, other deer. So you need to remember that. I feel like it concerns us as hunters far more than it does deer when they hear that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to spook deer if you do happen to get blown at by one, but you just need to remember that it's not uncommon and it's not the end of the world. So when you're taking big risk, if you happen to blow deer going in, there's still a possibility. It's not the end all be all. I can remember a giant 11 point I was after in 2019. I went into a spot that I had never stepped foot in before. I went in there, I blew a ton of deer, probably 10 deer on my way in, and right around 8 o'clock, an hour after daylight, here he came down the hill. I grunted him in, but I was in a hang-on stand. First time I'd been in there, didn't have any shooting lanes cut, and I wasn't able to get a shot. But that just goes to show that when you take a big risk, a lot of times big rewards will follow. So stop playing so safe when it comes to getting mobile and taking advantage of a short-term temporary movement, and just get in that exact right spot that you need to be in at that time. And I guarantee you, you'll have far more success mobile hunting next fall. Guys, it's Gunnar. Look, if you like this video, if it helped you at all, like, share, subscribe. It helps me a ton. We'll spread the message. Let's blow this thing up. Also, check me out on Instagram, Gunnar_Hanson, GUNNAR_HANSON. Remember, results are the only thing that matters. Let's get them.